Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Putle Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. It gives me pleasure to share with you that over the last several days, we've had some very, very interesting, immersive, and encouraging panel discussions with ISKCON leaders, devotees from around the world. We have tried to cover all parts of ISKCON's continent, starting in our journey from South America, going to North America, then Europe, Africa, parts of Northern Asia such as Russia, India, and Australasia. Amongst the ISKCON leadership structure, as part of the ultimate managing authority of the governing body commissioner, we have the GBC Executive Committee. And today, I have the pleasure to invite, as part of our Books Are the Basis Festival for 2021, the three honorable members of the GBC Executive Committee. I'd like to welcome the chairperson, His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Maharaj, the vice chair, His Holiness Bhanu Maharaj, and Revati Raman Prabhu. Maharaj and Prabhu, thank you so much for joining us for this discussion. As part of our project, Maharaj, we have to the EC, we have given the purpose, mission, and vision of this project. And to invoke auspiciousness, I would like to share that briefly with the Executive Committee again. The vision of this overall Books Are the Basis project is that we want Srila Prabhupada books are the most widely read spiritual books in the world. And in order to achieve this vision, we are working on a mission which is to significantly increase the regular readership of Srila Prabhupada books amongst ISKCON devotees, with the firm belief that if ISKCON devotees start reading Srila Prabhupada's books every day, then we have a chance to realize the vision. As in order to fulfill this, we have a specific purpose we're working on for this particular festival. And the purpose is to enhance the culture of reading Srila Prabhupada's books in all of our temples and congregations. So the Books Are the Basis Festival, which is now being celebrated as a whole week on the ISKCON calendar, starting right after Bhadra Purnima and concluding with the arrival of Srila Prabhupada's arrival in United States, is meant for this purpose. As a quick background to the Executive Committee and to the viewers, I'll also like to share with you that this is the second festival that we're celebrating. We started this last year by the blessings of the GBC body and the Executive Committee. And since starting last year, we decided to pursue publishing one in-depth interview with ISKCON leaders from around the world. And I'd like to inform that we've been successful by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnavas. And every single week, without fail, we have published an in-depth interview with ISKCON leaders. And we currently have about 64 such interviews published on our YouTube channel so that devotees can take advantage of it. Those interviews, dear devotees, were focused on why we must read Prabhupada's books. Today, I invite our Executive Committee to hear from them, their thoughts and how they feel that ISKCON devotees, ISKCON leaders, zonal secretaries, temple presidents can help fulfill this vision. So I request, with that background, His Holiness Bhakti Caitanya Maharaj to share from his perspective as to how he feels that we as an institution can, what steps we must take in order to move forward for this vision. Welcome, Bhakti Caitanya Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Tapana Mishra Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to Srila Prabhupada's books. So let me just say a few words on how how devotees can be encouraged in the reading of Srila Prabhupada's books, just in very simple terms. In very simple terms, for the devotees who are living in the temples and they're serving full-time under the management of the temple leaderships, the temple leaders have to allow the devotees some time for reading. This is one point, at least, that if we just say that, read whenever you get a chance, well, that's something, and devotees should do that. But actually, reading Srila Prabhupada's books is so important, so valuable, that, just like obviously we make special arrangements for deity worship because it's so important. We make special arrangements for cooking prasadam because it's so important. We make special arrangements for preaching in different ways because it's so important. So reading Srila Prabhupada's books is also so important that it needs some special arrangements to be made for the devotees living in the temples, so that they actually have a chance to read Prabhupada's books in a systematic way and not just find a little time here or there somehow or other. So that's one thing. That's one thing I could say. Let's hear what the other EC members feel.
Yes, Maharaj. And if we're able to give that time to the devotees with some discipline, there are possibilities that can be created. I would like to invite Bhanu Maharaj, and today I must say we are very privileged. Within the executive committee that we have devotees who are not only very senior leaders and managers, but in their own individual capacity, each one of them are deeply immersed in Srila Prabhupada's books, either as educators, authors, and active book distributors. Bhanu Maharaj, I would like to hear your perspective in terms of, besides, if we were to be able to create that time for devotees, and what must they do, what the temple presidents must do, how to organize?
Well, a few years ago, with strategic planning, when we met in Mayapur in the ILS, they had a little, form to fill out, and they asked people how many times they read the Bhagavad Gita, how many times they read the Bhagavatam, et cetera, and they were a little bit shocked when they got the answers back. These were the senior devotees of our movement, the leaders, the temple presidents, and whatever. And it was actually, maybe they'd read the Bhagavad Gita once or twice, half of the Bhagavatam, half of the Caitanya Charitamrita. So they hadn't even read it. And these are the leaders. So what to speak of the followers? So whatever the leader does, the followers will follow after that. So if we have the leaders not really too much into the study of the books, then what do we expect the people in the temple to do, or the congregation? Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different. So the leaders themselves have to have that awareness of the study. But I don't know if the whoever made that survey, they followed up on that and then asked the next question: why is it that you don't read or haven't read or whatever? So I don't know what the answer was for that, whether there's no time or whatever. That could be so much service and preaching that we can't read. But one other reason I would suspect is that the nature of scripture itself, as we take it in ancient times, like the Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam, in the modern world, we're not used to that presentation of knowledge, which is, it's not systematic. And none of this knowledge, whether it's astrology or history or whatever, you take the ancient textbooks, it's all scattered all over the place. It's not systemized, categorized like that. Maybe if we look at the Goswami's works, we'll find an attempt there, a very good attempt in Nectar Devotion of Rupa Goswami to systemize that knowledge, give a definition, give another definition, give another definition, give another definition, of everything, and then give examples, and then quote from scripture for each thing, and analyze each section like that. So he did very methodically. He analyzed bhakti and rasa in that way. So that's a very important step. And if you read that, then you understand, oh yeah, this is what he's trying to do. But otherwise, if we just read scriptures like Bhagavatam, yes, the rasa is in there, and this is that. So many things are in there, but it may be difficult for us to pick up all those points because it's not systematically done. Now, the Bhagavad Gita is a little simpler because it's shorter. And then we have chapters, something Karma Yoga, and one chapter Jnana Yoga, another chapter Bhakti Yoga, in the middle 6 chapters. So it's a little easier in that sense. But even then, for the devotees to go through that, because it's a conversation with questions and answers and whatever, it's not really systemized. So to get a definition of bhakti, you'll have to look all over for that in the Bhagavad Gita. Or if you want to know about karma, you're not going to get a set definition in one little place. It's going to be in several places. So this makes it a little more difficult for people to access. And if they just go verse by verse through the Bhagavad Gita and read, as we usually read from beginning to end of the book, by the time they get to the end of the book, they may have forgotten what was in the middle, or they won't connect the points between, statements and karma in one place and another place. So this is one problem we have with traditional scripture itself that makes it a little bit difficult to approach in the modern world, where you want a concise answer and you want everything done, arranged logically. So that's one problem, maybe why people have a little bit difficulty in getting into the scripture. And even if they do read it out of duty, they may not pick up, they may not get the fully idea of what it's presenting, because of that. So perhaps we do have to have another little approach. We give time for the devotees in the temple to study. We encourage them. We set a good example ourselves. But maybe we have to systemize this a little bit and make a little system of maybe cover by topic. Let's say we're going to discuss karma this week. So now we're going to go through all the verses that talk about, action, reaction, vikarma and akarma and all these things, and how does karma work, etc. And then take those sections of the Bhagavad Gita and read those particular verses and purports like that. So this may make it a little more interesting for people, and they'll get a little more value out of it in terms of what sinks in their head as well. So that's one approach that could be taken, that the leaders would have to do that. Now, maybe some devotees have already done that because they're presenting online courses and so many things. So they may have done this already. So it's not that we have to start from zero. We can probably find around the world, many devotees have isolated topics and made a topical study of different subjects of the Bhagavad Gita that could be followed by devotees in the temples and congregation also. So that's maybe one suggestion I would have, that we take a different approach to how to read the books, do it as a learning process, and go topic by topic.
Very helpful, Maharaj. And yes, some devotees have made that effort to create what we would call as study guides. And some of you have yourselves prepared such study guides. I know Bhakti Caitanya Maharaj has prepared few. Bhakti Caitanya Maharaj talked about the very basic foundational need to create time in the schedule of temple devotees or devotees in general. And then Bhanu Maharaj, you spoke about trying to overcome one of the untold apprehensions that I will not get it, or the difficulty to be able to capture it, and how that needs to be facilitated. Study guides, structured programs are some ideas that are being implemented. I would like to now ask Revati Raman Prabhu, who has been running such programs in his temple for many years. His temple is built entirely on book distribution, and I do know that Prabhu encourages many devotees to come and teach also in his temple. Revati Raman Prabhu, as a temple president, you must have seen this. What have you done in your temple to create that time, create that interest, and overcome some of the inherent inhibitions that devotees may have?
My humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada's books are the basis for us, all of us. Without Prabhupada's books, we can't survive in Bhakti. That's my conviction, because Prabhupada's book, The Science of Self-Realization, is a book which brought me to this movement. So that faith and conviction, I have that. Now, because you got to read Prabhupada's books regularly. The first thing is leaders Leaders, they should have the conviction. Prabhupada books are the main for us. As Srila Prabhupada says, when you read my books, I sit next to you and I will teach you. You know, by reading Srila Prabhupada books, we are taking the association of Srila Prabhupada, his Vani. You know, like reading Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is with us. All Prabhupada's purpose, Krishna and Prabhupada, they are with us. So, first thing, myself and my wife, as I told you earlier, Tapana Prabhu, in the previous interview, every day we read one chapter from Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. It happens continuously. Sometimes some breaks due to festivals. And also with my daughters, they stay in different cities, but once in a week we come together and read Srila Prabhupada's books for 1 hour. Each one of us we read. Not like that I give a class or they give a class. No. Yes, we read the Prabhupada verse and the purpose. Now in the temple, as you said, in the temple, every Monday, of course, the last few weeks we have stopped it. Every Monday we gather in the conference hall. Who? All the HODs, head of the departments, gather and hear class of Prabhupada. Then we discuss. Now I want to change it to book reading. That means all of us will read one verse. And after reading, we just discuss the different, from different aspects, understand the purpose of Prabhupada books and the translations. So that I want to do. At the same time, we have something like 48 Bhakti Vrikshas. Prabhus and Mataji is around 15 Bhakti Vrikshas. There also we want to implement this, how to read Srila Prabhupada books. That means we are covering the congregation and also the leaders in the temple, HODs. We have something like 15 HODs out there, 15 departments. So make it a regular program. And also the rank and file devotees. I am planning and also I want to discuss in the HOD meeting, in the temple devotees, how bring 3 people together, 3, and how we can give the agenda for them, what books they have to read. You start with this, the canto, first Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto. You complete it and make notes and show it to us. This way somehow everybody from the leader down to a small bhakta, they should be in touch with Srila Prabhupada's books. Then the temple is safe, devotees are safe, the congregation is safe, everybody is happy also.
Thank you, Prabhu. It seems you really have made it a practice in your temple with the managers to be able to get together and have each other's sangha focused around reading Prabhupada's books. And it's worked out well. I'd like to ask Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj that for any institution, in order to make a cultural change, which is what some of you said, that the leaders must start reading, it requires a journey. The first step in the journey is emphasizing on why it is important and creating inspiration around it. Eventually, at some point in time, do you, Maharaj, think that just like we have some stipulation on what is needed to be a devotee, what are your thoughts, Maharaj? When and what we must do before we institutionalize some aspects of reading Prabhupada's books regularly or daily? Whether that's a good idea, and if yes, what are the steps we must do before that? Because we don't want to throw devotees at the deep end and say, hey, anybody who's not reading X, Y, Z amount is not really practicing, etc. So Maharaj, could you please share with us your thoughts?
Okay. One thing, many things could be said actually, but one thing which I would suggest in the beginning and in the middle and in the end, but definitely in the beginning, bring in some specialist who's very experienced in giving seminars and working with devotees and helping devotees like that. So as Bhanu Maharaj was saying, the presentation in our books tends to be, not specifically like not so linear, you could say, just from point 1 to point 2 and then point 3. It's things that sort of divided up, spread out. So I think it would be a good idea to bring in some specialist or specialists to really help the devotees get a taste, first of all, by very nice presentation. The devotees can learn that, actually, this is nectar. This is really nice. It's not just, some philosophy, heavy philosophy, but there's a lot of nectar here. So like this, the devotees, if they're helped by someone who really knows what they're doing, then the devotees can get a taste, and then you won't be able to stop them. They'll be, themselves, they'll be taking up some reading program. So that's one suggestion in that regard.
Yes, Maharaj. And Srila Prabhupada said one place that his books are like sugar dolls. You taste anywhere, very sweet. So we can try and bring in specialists, especially devotees who have read Srila Prabhupada's books and immerse themselves. They become natural candidates for such specialists to do so. And Maharaj, you said this is something that must be performed consistently, because there will always be some part of ISKCON's community which is new, being developed, and they would require this taste to be embedded. Bhanu Maharaj, you have authored so many books and translations. Could you give us, when Srila Prabhupada expected in terms of specialization, would it be fair to say or think that the sannyasis within our movement are to be the torchbearers of this sort of a phenomena that Bhakti Caitanya Maharaj just mentioned, just by the merit of their absorption in scriptures? And not to say that the householders shouldn't do it, but I'm just saying, where do we start on this?
Well, I think sannyasis don't have an excuse because they don't have a job, they don't have a family. So in that sense, yes, it's a good start. Of course, some may have more abilities in that direction. Some have more of an intellectual bent or a scholarly bent, and some don't. So those who do obviously could take the lead in doing that. So yes, that's one thing. I just wanted to make one point though, and that's of course, from the books we get the knowledge, but as we know, knowledge itself is not real knowledge unless we have that accompanying bhakti that goes along with it. And that is the sadhana and the attitude and the faith that goes with it. And if the two go together, then that's how we develop the taste. But if it's only it becomes an intellectual exercise, then it becomes dry. So the two things also have to be coordinated together. So like if we take a Bhakti Shastri, but it's just a matter of getting a mark and memorizing the slokas and doing all this, then it may turn out to be a degree, like a university degree, and it's a little dry. And then you present that to other people also, and then they get the same dry knowledge. So it has to be accompanied by a little bit of the faith and the experience and the realization that go with it, whatever we're capable of. So that's one also a factor that the knowledge is there. It's not isolated. It's integral to the bhakti itself, and it gets its life from the realization of the devotees. So that has to be there also. So that attitude is very important in the study itself.
Yes, Maharaj. And I believe to some degree, that's when you really start developing the taste. Otherwise, it becomes very academic, and that needs to be overcome by practice. Revati Raman Prabhu, in terms of creating a program, and you talked a lot about how in the temple you are encouraging devotees to read. I believe you also have very strict standards for sadhana for your temple managers. Would you like to see how these 2 points that Bhanu Maharaj mentioned gets applied in your community?
Yeah, because sadhana is the main thing. As Srila Prabhupada says, for a leader, he explained this to Dhananjaya Prabhu in London. He told, first, take care of your health. For a good leader, first is health. After health, sadhana. Then seva. Without good health, we cannot perform good sadhana. Without sadhana, if we do seva, it will not be a yajna. It will be a seva with false ego. So sadhana is so important, as Bhanu Swami said. It'll become just high and dry, this philosophy. And whomever we teach, they'll be dry also. Because the sadhana, proper sadhana should be there. Without sadhana, that means full morning program. Srila Prabhupada, there are so many quotes by Srila Prabhupada on morning program. He has told you do this, you do this, you do this. You don't do this, you go to hell. Prabhupada has used the word hell. You go to hell, So, it's very, very important. Prabhupada says the sadhana is nothing but you're increasing your spiritual content. Prabhupada says when the spiritual content is good, everything is okay. When the spiritual content is not there in you, there'll be problems. So just increase your spiritual content. So Srila Prabhupada has given a beautiful morning program. I don't think any institution has a program like that. Beautiful Mangalarti to Tulsi Puja to Guru Puja, then Bhagavatam class, evening Bhagavad Gita class. Such a wonderful, nicely tailored program for everybody. Now we should take full advantage of that and study Srila Prabhupada books side by side. And also, Bhakti Caitanya Swami said, bring some experts. Make the devotees understand how important this book reading is. Not it's some nectar. It's a proper way of presenting, because he's an expert. He knows how to read Prabhupada books and how to present the same to the devotees in different temples.
Thank you, Prabhu. So the key takeaways from today's panel discussion with our executive committee members is, it would be nice if temple presidents and organizers across the zone can create some time where a fixed time or a set time where devotees in the temple and outside can participate in reading Prabhupada's books. In order to improve their taste, Bhanu Maharaj mentioned that we should bring in some specialists as well and get some devotees who really understand scriptures, can help others understand scriptures. And that should necessarily be combined with building real taste, which will happen by practice of sadhana. So on that note, where we, with encouragement from the executive committee, we would like to bring this festival and its mood of reading Prabhupada's books to its natural conclusion. And we request that whatever we perform during this week of the festival be not the end of it. Let it be a beginning of let it be a beautiful start where this habit, this love for Srila Prabhupada's, reading Srila Prabhupada's books only increases. And I like to request Bhakti Caitanya Maharaj to say a few words to all of the leaders around the world who participated over the last several days in various panel discussions and encouraging their respective zones in this movement about reading Prabhupada's books.
Yes, well, very nice. I think these leaders have been participating in the programs. They've really been doing a very important service, which is a very important part of their being leaders. Leaders are not just sort of pen pushers, just simply doing some administration, some writing out some figures and adding things up. Leadership means that you show the way by your personal example. You're leading the devotees in the right direction by your personal example. So thank you to those devotees who have been participating in the discussions. Thank you for setting very good examples. And for other leaders who haven't perhaps been participating or able to take part, please take this point, really take it to heart, that if you set the example, that whatever example you set, the tendency will be the devotees will follow that example. So if you set the example of really being dedicated to reading Prabhupada's books and really getting some nectar out of it and encouraging the devotees in that way, you'll be doing a great service in leadership, to great service for Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you to all of our EC members. Last year, we took a vow to publish an interview every week, and we are grateful to all the leaders around the world who participated. This year, for the pleasure of the devotees, the ministry is going to intensify our effort. And every single day, starting from the end of this festival, we're going to publish a short 2 minutes inspirational talk by leaders from around the world. So we seek your blessings that we're able to fulfill this for the next 365 days, every single day being able to publish. And we're doing it for the new age because not everybody is able to appreciate, 45 minutes, 50 minutes. So we're doing it. We're going to do it 2 minutes, 3 minutes, so that everybody in every walk of life can appreciate the importance of reading Srila Prabhupada's books. Very grateful for all of your time today, despite your busy schedule, and for giving inspiration to all the leaders and zones. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and his transcendental books. Hare Krishna.
Jai Srila
Thank you.
Prabhupada. Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Prabhupada, Hare Krishna,
Jai.
Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Maharajas Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Jai Revati Raman Prabhu.